Okay guys, I'm online, but I'm just going to do my audio setup wizard and stuff, so I will turn the chat on. You can feel free to chat with each other. I'm not turning the pencil on because, you know, I know what happened last time. I will be back in about 7 minutes, so there you go. Okay guys, it just says 3:59 on the computer, so we're going to get going in a minute. Can you please make sure that you put your hand down? I'll make sure I put mine down. We're actually going to review the last few things that we did last day. I'm going to review the homework questions. What does no mean, Zach? I'm sorry, I don't get it. Did I miss something? Okay, good. All right, so 3:59, we're going to get going in a second. I'm just going to put up that first page. These were the ones that we ended up with last day. That's kind of neat, Chalma. I like it. That's an emoticon I've never seen before. All right. So, okay, here we go. So we were talking last day about estimating percentages. I'm just going to close my classroom door. Can you close my... Darn, I almost caught a kid's eye. Hang on a second, guys. Okay, let's get back underway again. So, sorry about the delay. Mrs. Williamson's class gets out at 4 o'clock just when we start, so it's always a bit noisy. All right, so 50% of the following numbers, when you were doing your homework, it should be half of the number. We recall that 50% is 50 out of 100, or 0.5, and so there's different ways of figuring this out, but in our head, to do that mental math, it's just half of the number. So A would be 20, B would be 31, C would be 70, D would be 500, and E would be 123. So who can tell me what the rule was for calculating 10% of a number? Who can remember? Just type it in or hit your talk button. We'll never talk to me anymore. Oh, Shama, do you keep getting kicked out, I guess, eh? For 10%. Divided by 2 works great for 50%, but we've moved down now. We're going to figure out how to get 10% of the number. 31 doesn't quite do it either. Good. I can see that you guys are doing those. But we're down to the second part. What is 10% of the following numbers? 9, 22, 75, 120, and 48. So let's figure that out. I'm just going to put my pencil up. Just a second. Just takes me a second. Okay. So I've got my pencil, and I'm looking at 90%, or 90. And what is 10%? There's 2 ways to do it. First of all, it's to times it by 0.10. Now we know that when we multiply any number by 0.10, we just move the decimal back 1. So 10% of 90 would be 9. Excellent. What would 10% of 22 be if we use that same method? Good. William and Caden both have that. It's 2.2. So we can see that all we do is we assume when there's no decimal that it's at the end of the number, and then we move it back 1 place. So for 75, what is 10% of 75? Caden got it right away, 7.5. William and Jasmine got that too. That's awesome. So easy to remember. The other thing we can do is just divide it by 10 in our head if we're not very good at that. If some people just don't like moving decimals, that's fine. So divide by 10 in our head. So 90 divided by 10 is 9. 22 divided by 10 is 2.2. 75 divided by 10 is 7.5. So what about 120? Caden got it right away. It's 12 because we're moving the decimal 1 place. So it's going to be 12. Shama, Stephen, everybody's getting that. Awesome, you guys. And the last one for 48. This is a review of last time's homework. It should be, there we go, Caden's got it. Caden, Jasmine, a bunch of people. 4.8. Excellent. So then we did 25%. Who can remember how we got 25%? 25%, any takers on the magic method? It's 1/4. Good, Stephen. So how do we get 1/4 of something? We divide it by 4, says Caden. That's excellent. So 25% of any number is if you divide it by 4, all right? Because 4 25s will give you 100. So 40 divided by 4 would be 10, says Kate. Stephen and Jasmine, you're absolutely right. Next one's a little trickier for mental math. You have to divide it in half and divide it in half again is usually how it works. 60. Uh-oh, Kate's saying that she can't hear. Just let me type something into Kate. There we go. It's 15, that's right. So 25% of 60 would be 15. All right. Just a second. Can you guys all put your thumb up if you can hear me? Jasmine, Shama, Lexi, can you hear me? Rexy's got it. Good. So I think the only one that's missing is Kate. So we're just going to see what she says. Good. You keep answering her, Shama, and I will continue on. That's great that you're helping. All right. So the next one was 200, and 25% of 200 is 50. And then D for 44. Any thoughts on that? No? You guys are all giving her some really good advice. Thank you. Okay, so Shama, you should be able to give yourself a pat on the back for being so helpful. So Caden and Stephen, 11, that's right. And so if it's 11, 25% of 44 is 11. What is 25% of 440? And here it comes. 110, says Jasmine. She was the fastest. And then Caden, Stephen. Oh, maybe Caden was first. It's hard to know. You guys are all so fast on this. Okay, good. Now, 90% is one of those ones that it is a multiple of 10. All right? So, how many times do you have to multiply 10 to get 90? Ten times 9, according to Stephen, is 90. So it goes to say that if we can figure out 10% of a number, multiply it by 9, you should get 90% of the number. Does anybody not understand that? %10 of a number times 9 will give you 90% of that number. And that works for any, oh, I'm so glad, Kate, thank you. That works for anything. So 10% of 50 is 5. So let's say 90% of 50 is 5 times 9. It's going to be 45, says William. Good at doing math in his head. Excellent. What is 10% of 200, folks? It's 20, says William. All right. So 10% times 7 will give you 70%. So in this case, it would be 140 because 20 times, that's right, 20 times 7 is 140. 60% of 20, let's figure that out. What is 10% of 20? It is 2. So 2 times 6 to give us 60% equals 12. Good job, Shama. Got it right away. And the last one, 40% of 25. 10% of 25 is 2.5. This was a tricky one, all right? So then 2.5 times 4 equals 10. Now you're going to use your calculator for that. Most of you can do that one in your head, though. Excellent, you guys. So I'm going to move on from there because that was last day. Just a lot of people were having a little trouble with the homework. All right. So how to calculate a percentage? Percentage means out of 100. It allows us to compare things like test marks by looking at what the marks would be if the test was out of 100. So if it's out of 33 out of 50, it would be, what would the percentage be? 66 out of 100, says William, which turns into the decimal of decimal 66, which is 66%. 17 out of 25. Let's see how many people can do that one in their head. 17, 34, and the next one is, so 17 out of 25. We'd have to do the top and bottom, very good, Stephen, by 4. So it's decimal 68, or 68 of 100, so it is going to be 68%. That one's pretty easy. So moving along from that, so we're going to remember to do these as a decimal. We did this before. We're just doing a review. So 31% as a decimal is decimal 31, says William. Excellent. 15% is decimal 15. 9%, let's be really careful. It is decimal 09. Excellent. And Caden's jumped ahead to 27. It's 0.27. And the next one, oh, Caden's really jumping on. 43% decimal equivalent is 0.43. Good. And then we're going on to 2%. It is decimal 02. And The next one, 98, decimal 98. And then we have to think about 102%. What is 100% as a number? It equals 100 out of 100. What is the equivalent? 1.00. Excellent. Now, what about 102% then? So then it's going to be 1.02. Excellent, William. Excellent, Caden. So 100% is 1, and then the 2% is decimal 02. So the number of the numeral equivalent of that in decimal places is 1.02. And remember, 100% is a whole, so 102% would be greater than 1. All right? So if I asked you to bring me 100 oranges and you brought me 102 oranges, you're bringing me 102% of the oranges that I wanted. Okay, good job. So these ones are fairly easy to calculate the percentage of each mark and rank them in order from highest to lowest. I'm going to make the pen available. Notice it came up on your screens now. It's not gray anymore. So who would like to show us what 21 out of 25% is as a, okay, good, Stephen, go ahead. And then 39 out of 50, who'd like to try that one? Hand up. Oh, you just got to use the pencil. So you click on the pencil until it comes up, and then you either use your mouse or your finger to try and do, and it's hard to do. Good for you, Stephen. 84 is excellent. Who would like to try 39 out of 50? Oh, the iPad people can't do it. Sorry to say. William, you try it. I'm going to do test 1, unless there's someone that wants to volunteer. Does someone want to volunteer to do one? 78, excellent. We've got a 78 and an 84. 7 out of 10. Stephen, go ahead. 15 out of 20. Who would like to try that one? Go ahead, Caden. Just let me know if you don't have pen, and then you can just type it to moderator on the bottom. Oh, she's got it. Good. And the last one, 71 out of 100. Come on, anybody should want to do that one. Well, here it comes. Somebody. We're all good at this. That's excellent. I'm glad. So it's actually 71%. That's excellent, guys. All right. So now, if we're going to rank these in order, who got the best mark? Which was the best mark? Test 1? Well, I put them all as test 1. That was brilliant there. So the first one on the list. So maybe we'll just put them into rank next to them. So which one is number 1? What do you think, Steve? The first one? Write it up there. Yeah, so write a number 1 next to it on the rank list. Number 2, who's going to put up the next one? Number 2. Which one's number 2, William? Good. And number 3, Lexi, can you write on yours? Yeah. So do you want to write it up there? Write a number 3 on there. Can you do that? Is your pen available? She's got one. Okay, I'll do it for you. Let's go get my pen. Maybe I will. Somebody else write it up there. My mouse is acting up. Okay, go ahead, Katie. So to use the pen, guys, there's a series of, you can see on your left-hand side of your screen, there's a pen shows up there. If you click on it once, it'll let you draw. Number 4, who can tell me? Good. Who's going to do number 4, Jasmine? Go ahead. The last one, and number 5. Oh, you can't, okay. Well, someone was writing for Jasmine quite nicely, and then they stopped. Stephen, can you write up 4 and 5 for us? Thank you. All right, so we're getting this idea that one of the reasons that we need to know how to do percentage is so that we can, I'm just going to turn the pen off for a minute, because I know that somebody will start writing right away, so that we know how we can rank our tests. Here, when you can see my son going around all of the things, it's pretty hard to just put those in order. But once we make them all out of 100, we see what they would have been if the test was out of 100. And that's really all percentage is, guys. It's not a hard concept. It's just turning everything into how it would be out of 100. How to calculate it is different. Now, in a test with 40 problems, Jasmine answered 70% correctly. How many did she get right? Which benchmark could we use to do this one with mental math? All right, so let's figure that out first. So 70% is a multiple of what? Ten, says a bunch of people. You're right. So if we figure out 10% of 40, we should be able to figure out 70% of 40. So 10% according to William is 4. All right. So if she answered 70% right, how many did she get right? That would be, according to Caden, and she's absolutely right, it's 28 right. 70% of 40 is 28, because 10% is 4, and 4 times 7 is 28. Now we could also do this one calculating. I'm going to show you that one on the screen. Well, maybe I am. Okay, here we go. So 70% is decimal 7 times 40. So 70% of 40. If you do this on your calculator, you know what you're going to get? You're going to get 28. All right, 28.0. Because it's going to show how many decimal places in your question? 2. 70 times 40. There we go. 28.7 times 40. All right, move along. The mass of a watermelon is 97% water. Calculate the mass of water in a 5 kilogram watermelon. Well, 97%, the only way that it makes sense is to do this. 0.97 times 97% of 5 kilograms. Can you use your calculator and figure that out right away? William says he got 4.85 kilograms. Stephen got the same. Starting to think that might be what the answer is. Good. And the last one, a 203-gram apple. So the mass of an apple is 80% water. So we're going to do 0.8 times 203. Now we could have done this with mental math too, because we could have done 10%, which is 20.3, and then multiplied by 8. All right? So 0.8 times 203, anybody got their calculator working? Excellent job, Lexi, because you put the kilograms there. Excellent. So Lexi says it's 162.4 grams. And I think, and I'm going to put kilograms here so we remember. Good. So lots of people agreeing with you. So just all you have to do in this case when you're calculating the percentage of a number is you have to do the decimal equivalent and multiply. Tricky, but that's all you have to do. All right. Okay. At the science fair, here's your questions for homework. 25% of the projects involve baking soda chemical reactions, and 30% involve animal research, and 41% involve the construction of electrical circuits. Express each percent as a decimal and as a fraction. And then I want you to figure out what percentage of projects are not in those 3 categories. All right? So, how do you know how many are left? All right. So, this is your homework. Write this down, and then you can sign off. Now, there are 3 more pages if you go on the online class and listen on the video. I don't know if they'll show up or not, but you don't have to look at them. We'll finish them up next day. All right. So, copy these down as soon as you have. You can sign off. Thanks for listening, guys. And the video will be up tonight sometime. Thank you. Thanks, Stephen. Have a good night. Bye, Shamar. As soon as you're done copying, you guys can sign out. It shouldn't take too long. Bye, Lexi. Have a good night. Bye, Kate. Thanks. Have a good night. A fraction would be putting it out of 100. So in the case of 16%, remember that percent means out of 100, so the fraction would be 16 out of 100. Have a good night, everyone. No? Okay, I missed something that you said, Zach. Okay, do you get it now, Zach? Oh, you don't want a good night? Aw. Darn. Well, have a terrible night then, I guess. Bye, Jasmine. I'd like you to have a good night, Zach. But I know you don't want to, so that's okay. You doing okay, Sai? Good night. Make sure you sign out.